Donnie Houston.
What's going on, man?
It's fucking hot outside. That's what's going on. I'm sitting outside at my house. I should have been inside. Normally, whenever I do like video stuff, I do it on a computer like a normal person, and then you tell me I got to get on fucking Instagram Live. So I'm just on a cell phone now, just cooking in the heat.
That's what's up, man. So, first of all, man, congratulations, man, on everything, man, on the New York Times bestsellers. You know what I mean? I know you got the first fiction book dropping next week. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I don't want to say any words about the fiction thing. No, listen, the fiction thing is cool. It's the first fiction thing I've written. And normally what I do is if a book is coming out, very clearly it states within the title or the subtitle exactly what the book is. When I came on right now, you were showing the rap yearbook. Right. It tells you right there, the most important song from every year, 1970, like it tells you exactly what the book is. So with this one, I'm going to go the opposite direction, and I'm not going to tell anybody what it's about. I'm not going to show anybody the cover or anything. And this is like a horrible marketing strategy. Like the sales numbers for this one are way below what they normally are, but it's just fucking funny to me to do it that way. So, yeah. So here we are.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about, because I was seeing how you were saying you wanted to sit with one album, and you said with the Coltrane.
Oh yeah.
The Duke Ellington.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that, man, because that was very interesting.
Yeah. So, it was a couple of months ago. I had this idea where I always listen to music whenever I'm writing. Usually, I'm like cycling through 3 or 4 different albums depending on like what mode I'm in or what mood I'm feeling. But it's usually stuff that either doesn't have words or I've listened to it enough times that the words don't distract me or anything like that. It's always just sort of playing in the background. And so for this thing, I wanted to be a little more, I guess, active in the absorption of whatever it was I was listening to. So I said, okay, for this short story that I'm going to write, it's only 4,000 words, a little less than 4,000 words. So like 11 pages. I said, okay, for this thing, I'm just going to put one album on and just play it on repeat anytime I'm working on this short story, whether I'm writing it or editing it or like working on the layout or the cover or whatever. So I just kept playing the album over and over and over again. And like, there was no real reason to do this. I don't know if I was thinking like maybe the brilliance of this particular album, the Duke Ellington and John Coltrane album from 1962, was going to like help me write in a better way than I normally do or whatever. I didn't figure anything like that was going to happen, but it just seemed like a fun thing to try to do. So that's what I.
But the two are not connected. The content within the Duke Ellington and the Coltrane album, that doesn't have anything to do with the short story.
No, not really. So this would be like the same as if I was like, Donnie, I need you to produce like a track for me. You can do whatever you want, but before you make the track, I want you to watch I want you to watch Nightmare on Elm Street 20 times in a row. Before you do anything else, don't do anything else. Just watch that movie and then make whatever your heart tells you to make. And like, it might be connected, it might not be, but like, let's put something new in your head and maybe you make like a new thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what's up, man. So I'm sitting here doing research, man, and like, I mean, we'll talk about when I met you in 2010, you know, you were working for Houston Press and I was just DJing for rappers and you were kind of covering the underground scene. But I didn't know that you went to Sam Houston, bro. Like, I went to Sam.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Like, stayed in Jack Shack, you know what I mean? Freshman dorm.
You were in Jackson Shaver?
I was in Jackson Shaver. I went there for 3 years, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, radio, television major, man, Darren Rather building, man, yeah.
What years were you there?
I was there. I came in spring 03 till about fall 05.
Oh, so we were there at the same time. That's fucking
That's
crazy.
what I was thinking. You were probably like getting ready to leave as I was coming in.
Yeah, I left. I think it was like the summer of 04, if I'm not mistaken. I might be a little wrong, but I think that's when it was. So we were probably, I don't know, in the same room at some point.
Right.
We were probably at the fairgrounds at a party on one night. We were probably in that same room. That's nuts, man.
Yeah. So what did you major in journalism at Sam or what?
No. I got a degree. I went there to get a degree in criminal justice because the high school that I was at, they had like a criminal justice program, and I took a class. And this was like the first time in my life that I got a good grade in a class. And I was like, I guess I would do this if I'm going to go to college because can't do math, I can't do English, I can't do whatever. But like this thing, I understand. It's like not that difficult. So I just searched around, and Sam Houston was like it's known
top
for a criminal justice
schools.
program.
Yeah.
So I applied and I got in there, and then you get there and you realize, oh, it's the graduate program that is rated super high. Just the regular program is not anything special. But I started taking classes, and I think this was like, I don't remember at what point this was in my college career. It was maybe like the midway point or before you like really get into it. And I took a criminal justice class, and the teacher, I never forget it. She was walking around putting down these manila folders on everybody's desk, just like boom, boom, boom. She was giving a little speech as she was going. And then she told us to open them. And when we opened them, it was fucking photos of like an actual crime scene, like murdered dead people. I'm looking at pictures of it. Oops. And it looks 100% different than it does on TV. On TV, I watch these movies all the time, whatever, it's not a thing. But now I'm looking at this picture and realizing like this dead woman and this dead man that I'm looking at had a life, and they had a family, and like everything got ruined whenever this terrible thing happened. And I just couldn't process it the right way. And I knew right then, like, this is not a job I'm supposed to have. Like, I thought I was going to be a crime scene investigator because I watched like 5 episodes of CSI and thought it like looked cool or whatever. But as soon as I saw it in real life, I was
there's
like,
a reality to that episode.
I was like, no, this is not for me. So I went and changed my major. I ended up getting a degree in psychology because I wanted to be a psychologist or like a counselor at a school. So that was like the path I was headed on. And then when I began working as a teacher, I realized like, oh, this is like actually what I really want. I just want to be in the classroom with the kids. And so I did that for 9 years. But yeah, that's what I got my degree in.
No shit. So it's Sam, I understand you were hanging around the HKC, man.
I was, I was playing basketball whenever I could, as often as I could. So you remember how they have like it was like 3 or 4 courts in a row.
And them shits had levels, boy.
Yeah, exactly. Like you started out the first one, it was like all of the shittiest players, and you got good there, and then you could move up to the next one. So I was like, when I realized that that's what was going on, I was like, oh, I want to play at the last court, which is like where the college players played. And so I like worked my way up, and the first one was an easy level, no sweat. Next one was a little bit more difficult. The third one was really hard, but like eventually, like after several months of playing, I got into the big game. And when I got into the big game, they were fucking unbelievably good. Like you can watch them and go, oh, I could keep up with that person. And then you get out there on the court with the guy who's like the second string on the Sam Houston State basketball team, which is like not even a nationally ranked thing. And he's fucking LeBron James compared to everybody. Like it was unreal. So I played on the big court that one time. I like got out there. I made like a good play. I started talking shit, and immediately afterward, the guy that I started talking shit to dunked on me, like a legit, not like a high school dunk where you like get it in the rim, like a
just embarrassed you,
like a dunk, and like I fell backwards, and I was like, fuck this court. I'm going back to like level 2 where I can like make some shots. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Fucking the HKC was awesome, dude.
Yeah, nah, it was a good time, man. Sam was a good time, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so okay, up until this time though, you said nothing about journalism. So tell me, how does it start? Because like I said, when I mentioned 2010, you were the one who, you know, I always say like Shea was the one who was really like covering the underground scene first. Like you were like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to be. That the writing stuff started completely by accident. I was teaching at the time. Laramie, my wife, was teaching at the time, and we were getting married. We were having kids. We were doing like the whole, this is going to be our life. And she got pregnant with the twins. She had like some pregnancy complications about 4 months in, and like went into labor basically. And they had to do some emergency surgery. It was this whole big thing, but she couldn't go back to work. So all of a sudden we were going from 2 teacher salaries. Teachers make like, I don't know, I think we were making like $41,000, $42,000 each a year at that time. So together it's like $82,000, and it's just the 2 of us. And Houston is like expensive for Texas, but not expensive for the world or for the country anyway. So we were like doing okay. It was fine. We could like pay our bills, wasn't a thing. But then suddenly she couldn't work anymore. And all of a sudden we went from $82,000 for 2 people to like $41,000 for what was about to be 4 people, because me, Laramie, and then the twins. And the numbers just weren't adding up. You know, we were staying like in a little townhome off of 610 and Stella Link, right by Reliance Stadium. and the mortgage or the rent was $1,600 a month, and your teacher check when you get it is $1,100 every 2 weeks, and you're like, oh fuck, like I also have a car
Run out of
payment,
money.
student loans, whatever. It wasn't
Yeah.
working, so I was trying to apply at everywhere. I applied at the Target in Meyerland. I applied at the Papado right off of 610
Right
by
there.
Reliant. Yeah. I was like, you know, I was going wherever I could, and each time I'd do an interview or a phone call or something, they would tell me they couldn't hire me because I was working a full-time job already. I was working when they needed me to be working for them. So I needed like a thing that I could do from home, and I'm just like Googling work from home jobs. Writer was one of the things on the list, and I was like, I mean, it said all you need is a computer and the internet, and I was like, I got both of those things, so let me give this a try. And that's how all that shit started. Started freelancing for different smaller places. I ended up at the freelancing for the Houston Press all the time, and then yeah, that's when I met you and basically all of the underground rap guys. It was fucking super cool.
Yeah. So I mean, when you was hip hop, like, were you into hip hop before that, or was it just kind of like an assignment more of it, like at the time?
No, that was like the music that I listened to growing up. Because the thing happens when you're a kid, you're coming up in your house and your parents are listening to one kind of music, and at like, you know, preteen, teenage years, you're like, I don't want to listen to whatever my parents are listening to. And so my mom was listening to like a lot of Motown, for example. She's from Michigan. My dad was listening to a lot of like classic rock and like Tejano music and shit like that. And I was like, well, those two are out. Rap was becoming like this big cultural force at the time. It was associated with all of the stuff that I thought was cool already, like basketball. I was like, okay, so like this became the music that me and my friends were listening to. And then you just sort of, you find the artists who make you sort of fall in love with it, and you just start chasing it down, and it becomes like a bigger part of your life. And when I got to the Houston Press, and like I was like trying to be a sports writer at the time. I'm looking through the paper. They're not really doing any sports stuff. They've got like arts coverage, like plays and shit like that. They've got like a cooking section. They're covering different restaurants, and then they have a music section. And the music section was like almost all indie rock stuff. And so like I had read a book that said if you're trying to get in at a place, like make yourself valuable, present them like a thing that would make sense to them to do. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, Houston is very clearly a rap city, and you guys are not covering rap. So I'm just going to start pitching them rap shit all of the time. And I want to make myself the like Houston rap guy, because then I'm going to always have work. I'm going to always be able to get an assignment because there's always a new album coming out. There's always a concert, be it big or small, every weekend of the year in Houston. Houston's a fucking mega music city. Like if I can make this my thing, I can like get a constant check. And that's how it started. And then the more that I got into it, the more I started to meet the local guys or the underground guys. And I thought that was way more interesting than going to like Toyota Center to write about a Jay-Z concert, which I also was doing. But like going and meeting these guys and like watching them build a career, watching them figure it out, it was just super interesting to me. It was super inspiring to watch like somebody like yourself, where you like, oh, I remember the first time I heard this guy, and like, oh, now he's doing this, and you can see the sort of progression in the career, and like this is fucking really cool to see. So yeah, it just became like a bigger and bigger thing in my life.
Yeah. No, I mean, you talk about progression, and it was like, you know, I distinctly remember, you know, when you stopped working with the Houston Press, and it kind of got passed down to Brando's, and shout out to Brando. And Brando kind of became like the Houston rap guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I look up and I remember, was the Bum B coloring book, was that the first book you did?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah. So talk about your decision to even go into like really becoming, because I mean, to be a journalist and cover stories is one thing. When you're talking about going into being an author, that's like a whole nother, you know, it's a whole nother level of the game. So talk about just that whole transition of just wanting to get into, you know, being an author and just doing books and stuff, man.
You know what's wild is, so at this point I've written a few books and done a few things, but that, again, same with writing. Being an author was not something I was like trying to chase down. It was just some shit that ended up happening. I know exactly the moment all of this stuff came together. I was still teaching at Stevenson Middle School. you're at school, you like turn your cell phone off, you keep it in your desk until the end of the day. So the end of the day, I turn my phone back on and I'm walking out and I've got a voicemail, and it's from a number that I don't recognize. And I open it up and I play it, and it's fucking Bun B, who, just because I had been like to various concerts or written about enough stuff at this point, like he just sort of knew who I was, or I'd interviewed him once or twice, so he knew my name. And his voicemail was saying like, hey, this is Bun. I want to write a book. I want to do a book. I'm looking for somebody to do it with. If you want to do a book together, like, let me know.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was nuts. And the best part was, he said in the voicemail, it was the coolest thing anybody had ever said to me in my life in a voicemail. And after he did like his whole thing about what he wanted to do, he was like, don't call me back tonight, or don't call me back when you get this. Talk to your wife tonight, and then call me tomorrow after you thought about it. And I was like, that's fucking, like, I realize now how like insightful of a piece of advice that was. But like, that's just the kind of guy that Bun was. So I hit him back the next day, and I was like, fucking, of course I want to do a thing with you. Like, Riding Dirty is maybe my favorite album of all time. And like, I would argue the most important Southern rap album of all time. Like, I want to do a thing with you. And so we started pitching ideas back and forth to each other. And he was trying, I thought he wanted to do like a UGK bio or something like that. And he was like, no, I want to go like the opposite direction. I want to do something nobody's going to expect that I would be involved with. And so I was throwing him different ideas, and we settled on the coloring book. And he was like, fuck yeah, that's the one. Let's do that. And then there you go. That's all it was.
God damn, that's crazy, man. So, okay, talk about how do you go? Because is Grantland the next like writing job that you have? Like, where do you go from as far as a writer from Houston Press?
Yeah. So I was freelancing at the press. I started like once you start to collect clips, like samples of your writing, you can take those to bigger places. So I was like, okay, who's bigger than the Houston Press? They're like, oh, LA Weekly, or LA Weekly is like in Los Angeles, or Village Voice in New York. Try those ones. And so then I started pitching those places, and I would get in there, and then I would have some samples there, and I'd be like, okay, who's bigger than this? I'll try MTV or ESPN, and then I start pitching those places, and I'm just sort of working my way up through these places. And then Grantland was like this, at the time, billed as this sort of journalistic utopia where you can go there and you can write all of the big stuff you want to write, and they don't care about traffic, and they're going to pay you really well. And so like when I got in there, when I got on Bill Simmons's radar, that was really like a life-changing moment, because Bill came through. Prior to this, if I was writing at the Houston Press, for example, if I went to a concert to cover the concert and wrote about it, they paid me $20 for this thing. No like expenses or anything else like that. Like, you're just doing it because you want to do it. So I went from there to going at Grantland, where Bill Simmons was like, hey, I will pay you, like, what do I need? What salary do I need to pay you to, like, so you can just write for us exclusively? And I was like, oh shit, this is wild. Like, he was putting that those options or those availabilities in front of me.
And you're still teaching at this time?
And I was still teaching at the time. I was really scared to leave teaching. It was a job I wanted to do my whole life. At this point, I've been doing it 7, 8, 9 years. And I talked to Bill. I talked to this guy named Chris Ryan, and they called and they were like, hey, I'm like, you don't want to leave teaching, but just do a part-time contract with us. Only write for us. We'll pay you X amount of money per year, like a salary. You get a check every 2 years. You don't have to do invoices or anything like that. And just see how it goes. And so they let me do that. I was still teaching full time and then writing for Grantland.
So what kind of things are you writing when you get over there?
I was doing a lot of music stuff and a lot of sports stuff. That was like the main thing. Some movie stuff every once in a while, but mostly music and sports. The stuff I was most interested in. Yeah. And so I did that for a year, and then at the end of that contract, they were like, "This is cool. We think you like do good work. Let's see what happens if you do it full time. Because right now you're only working on this part time. What happens if you go full time and you can devote all of your energy to this?" So I talked to Laramie. I did like my Bun B advice thing again. I said, all right, let me talk to Laramie and see what's up. We agreed on like, all right, give it a try for a year. Sign a 1-year contract. If you like it, you can re-up. If you don't, you can go back to teaching. And so I talked to my school, my principal. I asked her if this was okay. She was like, yeah, go for it. And then I went full time in 2015, July of 2015.
So you're able to do all of this from Houston or San Antonio, wherever you were at the time, or were you?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's the thing that's like, that I was always pointing out to people, because they're like, oh, if you're going to do this, like, you have to live in New York or you have to live in LA. Those are the only two options. And I was like, that doesn't fucking make any sense. We have the internet in Houston, and I'm just sending you emails. What difference does it make if I live 6 miles away from you? It's the same thing. Bill was the first one who was like, all right, cool, that's what's up. You can stay where you are. We like worked that out ahead of time. But yeah, Houston was fucking, I mean, you've been there all of this time. Like, you know, the opportunities that are there. Like, you can make a thing. You can make whatever you want in Houston. And again, I'm coming up under these guys who I'm watching, these rappers who were like, there was very much a period in Houston rap where they decided, okay, you know what? We're not going to chase these record labels in New York anymore. We're not going to chase these record labels in LA anymore. We're going to do our thing here. All of a sudden, I don't have to sign a $1 million contract and then like make my 15% royalties or whatever it is. I can do it all myself, and I can sell 10,000 CDs at like a gas station or whatever, and I can get $10 for each one, and I make $9 off of them, and now I just made 90 grand over the course of like a few days. Like, they were building up their own little thing. They figured it out very early on. So I'm watching all of that happen, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna fucking do what these rappers that I look up to are doing. I'm going to try to do a version of that, but like the writing version. So that's what I've been chasing down.
Yeah. So talk about, I mean, when you get to starting to work on this, man, on the rap yearbook, bro, because this is, I mean, this is so dope for me, just being the hip hop head I am. This shit is so just, I mean, it's unique as far as the approach. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of cool facts, and it's something that, whether you know a little or a whole lot, you know what I mean, there's still something to gain from this. Like, talk about just going into working on your first book, like real book.
Dude, that was fucking crazy, because here's how it works when you do a book contract. You have to write a proposal, and then you have to like include 1 or 2 sample chapters in the proposal, and then you give that to the publisher, and they look through it and they decide if they want to buy it or not. So when I did that, I was working with this woman named Samantha Weiner.
Wait. So pause, not to cut you off. When you do that, do you have the whole thing and you're only submitting a piece, or is it just kind of like, let me just do these couple of things, and if it works, then I'll finish it? Or
so with a nonfiction book, you don't have to write the whole thing ahead of time. You just need a little piece of it. With a fiction book, you usually have to write the whole thing. You have like a manuscript, it's done, you turn that in. But with a fiction book, you have an idea, you have like a marketing plan, and you have a couple of sample chapters of like what the book would be about. So at the time, I was working with this woman named Samantha Weiner at Abrams Books. She's my editor. And the idea for this, the like actual idea for the book was her idea. She's like, hey, I want to do a rap book. I want every chapter to be about the most important song of a year. And I want you to write this, because we had done the coloring book already, and I didn't want to do another coloring book. So she brings that idea to me one day, and I was like, that sounds kind of super boring. I don't want to do that at all. And so I like turned it down. And then like a couple months later, Laramie and I were trying to move out of our townhouse or whatever. And I was like, oh, they'll give me money if I do
need
this.
Some money.
And then I hit her back. And I was like, actually, I think that's a pretty good idea, Samantha. Let's give it a try, or whatever it was. So you write so I like write the 2 sample chapters, and the 2 that I picked, I did like a Dear Mama from 1994 and Nothing But a G Thing from 1992. Those are the 2 sample ones that I written. And I had already at that point written enough about rap and researched enough about rap that I could write those 2 chapters really quickly. I wrote them in like 3 days. Like I had all of the research done already. I powered through it.
Were they written the way that it came out in the book, or was this a different version of it?
They were pretty close to how they came out in the book. They have to go through like editing processes.
Right.
But the structure, the layout was good. I had like art in there already, whatever. So it only took me 2 or 3 days to turn it in. So I turned it in. They take a few days, and then they call me and they're like, all right, we want to buy this. We're going to offer you $25,000 for this book, which to me at the time was like, oh fuck, I'm a millionaire. I was making $20 per post, and now you're paying me $25,000. I didn't realize that this was 2 years worth of work that you're going to have to do. So really, it's like $1,000 a month we're paying you before agency fees and before hiring an illustrator and all that other bullshit. So I started working on that book, and they go like, all right, you have a year to write this thing. And in my head, I'm like, well, I don't need a year. I did those other 2 chapters in 2 or 3 days. Like, I'm good. So I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait. And it goes like 9 months and I don't turn anything in. And then Samantha hits me up and she's like, hey, send me all of the stuff that you got. It's time to like get close to this. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then I don't send anything still. And I wait and I wait and I wait. And then finally, like month 9 or 10, I start working on it. And I write the DMX chapter about Rough Riders Anthem. Yeah, 1998. And DMX, I love DMX. I listened to it. Like when that album came out, it was like a big point in my life. I thought I knew everything I needed to know about it. And I realized very quickly that I didn't. And so it took me like a week of research to like write this chapter because, oh shit, he has a biography. I need to read the biography. Oh, there's a documentary about him already. I need to watch that. Oh, I need to like read every interview from 1997 to 1999 that he has done everywhere. Like I'm digging through the archives or whatever. It takes me a week to write it. And I'm looking at my list now and I've got 3 done and I've got 33 left. And I'm like, oh fuck, this is why they give you a year to do it. There's no way. Like I was like 6 months late on that first book because I had no idea how much work went into it. But yeah, it ended up coming out and it made the bestseller list, and I was really surprised, and like shit started to change after that.
How did you make the list? Like what went into it making the list? Like what did you build up to that point to get it to, I mean, to gain that much interest in it? You know what I mean?
All right, so we're gonna go back to exactly what I was talking about before, where I'm watching the rappers in Houston market their own stuff. They're not worried about chasing down other things. When the coloring book was coming out, I thought in my head, I'm going to do like the traditional approach here is you try to get like as much press coverage as you can. You know, oh, maybe Rolling Stone will write about it, and maybe the Washington Post will write about it, and LA Times, and whatever. And so that's what we were doing. And it was like easy to get that coverage because Bun was attached to it and people were excited to talk about it. But when the book came out, it didn't sell like a ton of copies. The first week sold like 900 copies, like not enough to make the list. You probably need like a minimum of 4,000 copies to make the list. Like, there's no set number, but you need to be somewhere around there to be on the very bottom. So the coloring book came out. It sold 900 or so copies the first week. And then like every week since then, it probably sells like 20 or 30 copies. Not a ton, but it's doing what it's doing. Yeah. So when the rap yearbook came out, this happened again, totally by accident. Samantha emailed me a link to the Amazon page. And she's like, oh, look, the book is up. It wasn't finished. This was like February of the year.
It's like a pre-order link or something.
It's like it's just like up there. Okay. And nobody was saying, oh, get people to pre-order it or anything like that. Nobody told me anything like this. It wasn't like a strategy at the time. But she emails me the link. Me and Laramie and the boys are going to drive down to Corpus to go visit my sister. So before we get in the car to go to Corpus, I tweet the link. And I'm like, oh, look, this is fucking crazy. Like my name is on this page. The book is going to be out in like 8 months or whatever. And that's it. I didn't say anything else. Put my phone away. We drive down to Corpus. It's like several hours from Houston. We get down there. I like take my phone out to show my sister that the thing is up. And when I open it up now, Amazon, they update their sales rankings every hour, just about. So if you can sell like 50 books in an hour, you can jump from the bottom up to like, not the top, but up high. So I was like I was like the 8 millionth book on Amazon or whatever it was when we left to Corpus. And then I tweeted it. And a few hours later, when I opened it up, we were like a #1 bestseller in like a very specific category. Like,
and sidebar, this is from, I mean, how did you even, because granted, I mean, now you have this huge social media following, but how did you, I mean, this is based off of, you know, just having these people follow you. How did you even gain such a following on social media up until that point? You know what I mean?
This wasn't even like a thing at the time. It wasn't like a thing I was talking about, but I posted the link. I open it up like a few hours later. I see we're #1 bestseller, which in this particular case means we probably sold 30 books in an hour. Okay. Not a ton of books. Okay. I don't want to make it seem like that. Like that's all you need to like jump up, because they have it like so into like such small slices that it's easy. It's like, oh, you can be a bestseller in like rap, or rap in history criticism, or rap in like the culture of whatever. There's like a ton of ways to get up there. But I realized very quickly that the reason that we had done that was because I had tweeted the link, and there was like a direct response from some people on Twitter, because I think at the time I maybe had like 30,000 people following me. But several of them saw the link, and then they went and they pre-ordered the book, and that's what happened. And when that happened, I was like, oh fuck, this makes so much sense. Like I have a direct line to people who already know who I am and who I'm like already making jokes with and laughing about stuff on Twitter with. I can just like tell them to get the book. And now I don't need to get the attention of everybody. I just need this small group of people. If I have 30,000 people following me and you're telling me I need 4,000 pre-orders or 4,000 sales the first week to like make the bestseller list,
that's very feasible.
I think I can do that now. That's like an 11-12% conversion rate.
Right.
So then I'm just like every day like tweeting the link, go get the book, go get the book, go get the book. And it was moving very slowly. We would do 20 or 30 a day. And then like right as it was about to come out, it like really took off. And I think we ended up doing like 8,000 books the first week, like something nobody was expecting. And it was like, oh fuck, this is crazy. Again, all because it was like direct action. The same as like I had watched my favorite rappers in Houston directly selling their stuff. You read the stories about DJ Screw selling the tapes out of his house. They're lined up literally outside of his house so he can hand them a tape. That was part of the process. Like, oh fuck, this is like a super nerdy version of that, where it's just on the internet now and it's books instead of tapes, and they're responding directly to it. And when that happened, that's when everything changed, because it was like, oh fuck, like I don't need to chase down these other things anymore. Like I can only focus on my stuff, and that should like, take care of it.
Huh. Okay, so tell me this, because you got $25,000 to make the book. Mm-hmm. So how does it work in the book game? Like, is that it? So it doesn't matter how many you sell. Do you get like royalties on that? And I'm asking because I mean, you know, I majored in journalism and I just kind of got away from it, and now I'm kind of back in this media space and kind of going in that direction. So I'm just trying to get as much information, you know what I mean? Because that's probably gonna me like getting the books.
It's the same as the way they set up like
royalties and shit,
like a record advance. Yeah, they pay me $25,000 to write their rap yearbook, and then in the contract it states every book that we sell after that, I get like, I'm just gonna make up some numbers here, but I get like, I think it's 15% of the gross or of the net, one of those two, every book that we sell. So let's say you sell the book for $20. That means I get $3 every time a book sells.
Right.
So every time the book sells, I get $3, and we just keep adding up those little $3 until it makes back the $25,000 that the publisher gave me. And then at that point, now every book that I sell, I get a $3 royalty, $3 royalty, $3 royalty. And you know, it's not like every day they send you this money. It's like over a 6-month period, from January to June. They collect all of those sales, and then at the end of that period,
like a publishing check that you get like every quarter, like in
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what it was there with those ones.
Yeah. So talk about, I mean, what opportunities, like how does that change? I mean, now you're a New York Times bestseller, you know what I mean? Like talk about all the opportunities that opened up for you after that.
So after that book came out, I got the chance to do another book, is when I did the basketball book.
Right.
But the rap one ended up being on the bestseller list. It ended up becoming like a 6-episode documentary that they did for AMC that the Roots produced. So like I got to all of a sudden have like these conversations with TV people about TV stuff, with movie people about movie stuff. You know, it's basically you're just collecting emails at this point, and like, oh, now I know this person who does this thing. So if I have an idea for a show, I can go directly to this person and be like, oh, what if we do a TV show about this or do a TV show about that? But like things like that are happening after the book comes out. That's mainly the difference there. People are going like, oh, maybe you know what you're doing, and then they open the door and they have no idea that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just sort of trying to figure this out as I go. Like I'm building the airplane as I'm falling out of the sky, sort of situation. I'm trying not to smash into the floor. But yeah, that's what it is. And now I'm just like trying to do as much cool shit as possible, and trying to be in control of it, of like as much of it as I can be. Like, you know who one of my favorite rappers is, one of my like biggest inspirations is Les. You how often do you talk to Les? This is like,
that's my boy. He was actually just watching. I don't know if he's still in here, but he was in here.
I don't know if he's in here, but I love this guy, because he, to me, was like one of the first ones to very clearly understand that he could do like his own thing on the internet and like build up his own fan base, and he wasn't worried about anything else. He's just going to cultivate this group of people that he can sell directly to, and there you go. He's got his merch. He's not trying to sell 40,000 hats. He's maybe trying to sell 400 hats to this group of people and then move on to the next thing. and get your money. So like I'm trying to be like that, because it's cool to be like in control of all of this shit, or to be like the final voice of a thing. We were talking about the short story that's coming out. Like there's no publisher attached to that. That's just me doing it, and like me hiring my people to build the thing, and then me selling it directly. So like we were talking about when the rap book was coming out, I get like $3 per book or whatever. It's selling for 20. If I sell the PDF for $20, I get 19 of the $20. So I don't have to sell 200,000 copies of this book anymore. I can sell 5,000.
So is the short story a PDF or is it a physical book?
It's a PDF. It's a PDF. It's just like it's a PDF and an audio file. So you can like listen to it like an audio book, or you can read it on your phone or Kindle or iPad or whatever. There's no like physical production that you get. It's just straight up me sending you an email. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. That's what's up. So talk about, because I mean at the same time too, you talk about like the Ringer and like what you do over with the Ringer and how that kind of ties in everything.
So the Ringer is what Grantland ended up becoming. Bill left ESPN, started his own thing called the Ringer. He like took some Grantland people with him. And then fortunately for me, they gave me a call and asked me to go work over there with them, which I was like super excited about. And so I go there, and it's very much the same thing. I'm just writing about the stuff that I like, writing about different, rap albums, basketball games, movies, whatever it is. Just doing that, doing some podcasts every once in a while. It's a media company, and they just let you do like cool shit. So that's like my proper salaried job, where we have like our benefits through or whatever. All the other stuff is just extra stuff.
Yeah. So is that just writing? I mean, it's like a podcast type of thing you guys do over there too, right? I mean, there's a lot of content you guys sitting around doing like a podcast. So I was reading with the Ringer, do the staff writers get their own podcast? So how does that work over there? Like what kind of things are y'all doing over there?
You usually have to pitch an idea for a podcast, same as you would like a book proposal. Huh? So like if I did a podcast before called Villains, and I pitched it as an 8-episode series, and each episode I just want to talk about a different villain.
I was watching how you had the one with my man from New Jack City, Nino Brown.
Nino Brown.
Yeah.
I love this movie, New Jack City. So I'm like, all right, cool. I want to do an episode about Nino Brown. I think he's a really interesting villain. Or the movie Gone Girl, the woman in there, Amy Dunn, incredible villain, like Joker from The Dark Knight, stuff like that. Right. So each episode is that. So like I have to like write up a proposal. Here's how I see the show going. Here's the structure. Here's who I would like the guests to be. Here's how long it would last. Here are the like resources I need for it. And then you send that in to the bosses, and then they talk about it and they give you some ideas back, and you go back and forth. And then like ultimately they make a decision. Do we want to make this? Do we want to commit the resources to it? Or do we not want to? And then there you go. So like two of them that I've pitched so far have gotten through. A couple of them didn't go through. They were like, this doesn't quite work. You know what I'm saying? Just like that.
Yeah. Man, talk about oh my God, fuck! I just lost my train of thought, bro.
When is the last time you were like at a Houston rap show, like underground rap show?
Oh man, it's been a long time, bro. I mean, for one, with COVID, you know what I mean? It's been a long time.
Well, yeah, that, yeah.
To even think about a rap show, shit, it's been a while, bro. It's
Dude,
been a while.
I can't even count how many of those shows I went to at like Warehouse Live.
Yeah.
At what was that, Midtown Lounge? Do you remember Midtown Lounge?
Midtown Lounge, yeah. But you know what happened too though is that, after like that 2011, 2012 around that time, like a lot of the scene slowed down.
Did it?
It wasn't like, like when I met you around that time, like 2010, 2011, it was like 2 or 3 shows a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was really great.
It just kind of stopped being like that for whatever reason. I don't really know what happened.
It was great. It was so much fun. It seemed like every week, all of a sudden, there was like this new talented person that I had never heard of. And I'm like, how the fuck does this keep on? Like every show I go to, I like meet another person who knows another person who tells me about a different show. And then I'm like, oh, like this is how I learned about Doe Beezy and Cab. And then I go to their thing and I'm like, oh, I learned about Hood Star Chance and Propane. And then I go to their thing, I'm like, D-Lo and Les, and then Uzi, and then right. Like it's just Ton P. Like every time a thing happened, there was like another person there doing some wild shit. It was fucking crazy.
Brando said Frontline may be the one. No, Frontline is the one that started out. That was all MC Kane. MC Kane started that whole 2010.
H dash Kane.
Yeah, he started that whole shit, man. I tell people all the time, he's the one.
Another guy who you talk to and you're like, oh, he has like a business brain. Like he was always, everything that he was doing was not for right now. It was for 6 moves later. And it was just like, I don't know how you like build your brain to think like that, but it was always super interesting to me to watch that shit pay off. Cause he's like, we're doing this, but this is a play for this later on. And you're like, oh yeah, I get it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So this is what I was gonna say was that we were on Twitter the other day and you had said something about, you mentioned wrestling, and I was like, oh, it must be another book. And he was like, nah, I like wrestling, but I really like to write about things that I'm really, really interested in. Or really talk about that, because that really stuck with me. Like I started thinking about stuff like, you should really choose things that you're genuinely interested in, not just kind of like that's cool. Like that really stuck.
Yeah, because I think at this point I could probably, like, this is gonna make me sound like an asshole, but I think I could get a book deal to talk about, like, to write about almost whatever I wanted to. I would guess. But I don't want to do that because I know at this point how much work goes into writing a book. I know how much time you're going to have to spend with it. But also I know, like, it's just not that much fun to write about stuff that you don't, like, have a personal connection to. So, like, if I've been listening to rap since I was 11 or 12 years old or whatever it was, I've got this 25, 28 year history built in already that I can, like if we start talking about rap and you're like, oh, remember in this video when this happened? Like, if you weren't watching it at that time, you probably don't remember the, like, Janet Jackson and Busta Rhymes video where it's like,
when they had, that was like one of the first, like, $1 million budget videos. Yeah, I remember
exactly. Or you don't remember, like, fucking the Rump Shaker video with the woman
on the boat
playing the saxophone on the beach, like.
Or on the G Thing video when she's playing volleyball and he comes and pulls. Yeah.
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough rewatch when you go back and watch that one. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, you have that history with it. Same with basketball. I grew up watching basketball. Like, I can write about that stuff because ultimately all I'm trying to do is, like, celebrate the stuff that I like. Everything that I write, I want it to be like a love letter to this thing. I don't want to write a book like trashing a person or a time period or a thing. I want to be like, oh, I fucking love this, and let me tell you why this means a lot to me. Like, that's what I'm looking for. So when that guy mentioned writing the wrestling book, I watched wrestling for a little while during the, like, Ultimate Warrior to, like, Papa Shango, Razor Ramon era.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I've missed it. I've missed 20 years, 15 years of wrestling. I have no idea what the, like, storylines were there or the like interesting things. So I could write about it, but it would probably feel very, like, anthropological or like a textbook almost of me just reciting some stuff that I read somewhere else. I don't have, like, a lot of personal connection, personal anecdotes to include. So yeah, when I'm writing books or anything really, I just want to talk about the stuff that I like, which is how I ended up now. We have a new book coming out next year, and it's going to be about rap again because, like, here we are. I did rap, I did basketball, I did movies. I'm gonna do rap again because, like, those are my 3 main things, You
care to talk about the more direction of this rap? Is this more of, like, is this a pickup from the yearbook, or is it a different?
No. So when the basketball book came out, that was Basketball and Other Things. And when we did that, when Arturo and I talked about making it like a series, because it's very easy to just replace the word basketball with something and it still fits. Because in that book, every chapter was like a different question that we wanted to answer about basketball. So then we did movies and other things. And it's like, oh, now every chapter is going to be a question about movies that we want to get answered. And it's like, okay, rap is going to be the last one because this is the one I've been wanting to write the most. So that'll be like the end of the 3-book series, Rap and Other Things. And now every chapter here will be a different, like, rap question that needs to be answered. And some of them will be serious, like serious contemplations about rap. Some of them will be, like, a little more silly or like super nerdy. But ultimately, that's what the thing is.
Yeah. Top 5. So talking about rap. Top 5 rappers of all time.
Oh, geez. Okay, so this is like a fun conversation to have. And this is a good example of, like, the way that I approach the stuff that I'm writing. Because if we say, who are the top 5 rappers of all time? The first thing that happens in my head is like, okay, we need to set some perimeters here for this conversation. We need some structure in place because you can't just be like Jay-Z, Nas, Rakim, Missy Elliott.
What are we basing this off of? Yeah.
We need rules. We need rules in place, because that way, by the time we settle on our answer, even if you don't agree with it, you understand how we got there. Yeah. Because you could say you're 5. You could be like Tupac, Big L, Queen Latifah, Rakim, and Eminem, whatever. I'm just gonna make some up for you. And immediately I'm like, fuck no, that's not the correct list. I don't know how you got to your thing. So we need to set up how we get to the thing. So if we make one of the rules like, okay, if you're going to be considered the greatest rapper of all time or one of the top 5, we need some like rules in place. Rule number 1, you have to have been alive for at least 2 of your albums coming out. Okay, I'm just going to make that rule up right now. And if we do that, we automatically lose big. Like right. He's out. Right. And he would absolutely be one of the 5 that I would pick as one of the greatest of all time. But because we have this rule in place, I know we're not allowed to pick him anymore. So now we're filling in the blanks. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now we need, if you're going to be considered one of the greatest rappers of all time, you have to have one album that shifted everything, that changed the way music is made. So you're like, okay, well then this is like a good argument for Nas, because when Illmatic came out, everybody from that point forward, nothing sounded the same anymore. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So we would have to like figure out what those rules are before we settle on our 5. I can tell you like my personal 5 favorites, people I just want to listen to.
And that's what I say when I say 5, I don't really go by like there's like the top 5, and that's when you start talking about, you know, bring out your checklist and whatever. And it's just like top 5. You know what I mean? This is my 5 who I like. You know what I mean?
And this is like one of my favorite things that is like included or involved with writing about the stuff that you like, because now you're just having a conversation with people about things that you like, and it's fun because then you can argue, and it's not like a mean-spirited argument. It's like, no, let me tell you why.
This is why my guy is the one. Yeah.
Let me tell you why 1997 Missy Elliott belongs in this conversation. This album came out, and this was like the whole the Virginia thing, like whatever.
The Timberland sound. I mean, it was a lot. Yeah.
It was a lot. She showed up, and nobody had ever done anything like that.
The bag and shit. The fucking Super Duper Fly video. I mean, this is that kind of shit. Yeah.
I saw somebody the other day tweet something that was like, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was basically like which albums came out that like had a big impact on you, or like were ahead of their time. And the first one I thought of was Super Duper Fly, which came out in 1997, which came out 23 years ago, and people still have not caught up to it. Like, it's just, if you listen to it now, it's just beautiful.
It sounds like the future. It is what it is.
It's perfectly laid out. It's perfectly sequenced. You've got this great intro and ending where it feels like you were part of a process, and it's just so much fun to listen to. Fucking shit.
Yeah. So you mentioned Missy a few times though, man. Is that the GOAT for you as far as in music?
I would make the argument that she belongs in the top 5. Absolutely. She was somebody who, like, when I saw her, I was in high school at the time. This album comes out. The I Can't Stand the Rain video comes out. It was like one of those, like, I've never seen anything like this before. I've never heard anything like this before. And you're immediately pulled in. And then she just kept on doing it. I was like in college when the album came out. I was like, you know, she just kept on putting stuff out, and every time you're like, oh fuck, this is fucking great. So those are the musicians, the artists that I'm like the most connected to, is the ones who make their sound, and they're just when you listen to it, it feels like they're not making it for anybody else. They're making it only for themselves because they think it sounds cool and they think it's interesting and they think it's challenging. There's another reason I like Les so much, because when that production comes on, when you hear like whatever the new Les album is, because he puts one out every 45 minutes, when you hear the production, you're like, oh, I know who this person is. Les is like that. Toby is like that. Kamaya is like that. Like, I've got a list of people who make music like that. But yeah, Missy for sure is for me in that conversation.
Yeah.
Man, wait, who are your 5? Who are your 5 that you?
No, it changes, dog.
You can only listen to them for the rest of your life. You can only listen to albums by these 5 musicians.
Okay, I'll try to give you 5'9". If somebody asks me this shit in 30 minutes, it's probably gonna be different. But
Okay.
let's just say Tupac,
Okay.
Snoop,
Snoop is
Hov.
great.
Yeah, like.
Wait, who's your third one?
Hov, Jay-Z.
Oh, Hov.
Yeah.
I thought you said Roe, and I was like, oh, Zero snuck in here.
Zero? No. Even though I fuck with Zero, I love Zero. What do you say? Jay-Z, Tupac. Yeah, man. I don't know, bro. It changes so much, man. Like,
you know what I like to do whenever I'm like making a list like this is I want to drill down as specific as possible. So like I'm not gonna just pick DMX in total. I want 1998 DMX.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want 2014 Kendrick Lamar or whatever. Like I need a.
And see when I say Snoop Dogg, I'm talking like
93
Doggy
Snoop.
Style Snoop. Yeah. I need Snoop in 93, 94. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I need Pac and I need 95, 96 Pac. I can do without early, you know what I'm saying, Tupac music. As far as Hov is concerned, like I need Blueprint Black Album Hov. You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting to me? How old are you? You're gonna be like 35 or something, right?
I'm 36 this year.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
See, so for me, Hov came out when I'm in high school, and like he's a few years older than we are, but we're still in like the same window of life,
right?
And so it's been cool to like as he moves, we move too. So I remember when the 444 album came out, and I was like, "There's no way this album is gonna be good," because by the time we got to like Blueprint 3, I was like, I'm gonna just go back to Reasonable Doubt, I think, and like hang out here. But then 444 came out, and I fucking love that album. Like I love it. I think it might be. I would.
It's a great album, man.
This is going to be a bad argument to make, but I would maybe argue that it's in his top 3 albums of his life.
Top five for sure. because and we're gonna have to get back on because IG is getting ready to cut me off. Okay, yeah. So all right, top 5 Hov album.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we were. I think 444 is definitely in the top 5. For me, I would say top 5 Hov. What?
Well, I mean, you say top 5 like of Hov album. How many does he have? Like 9, something like that. I'm just guessing.
Shit, I don't know. But I would say for sure, you know what I mean, best Hov album for me is like Blueprint, Black Album. What's the movie? American Gangster.
Mm-hmm. You put American Gangster above 444? That's fucking outrageous. That's
outrageous.
Well,
I don't know. I don't. Here's the thing. This isn't an order. The only ones that are in Blueprint and Black Album aren't even in order because they can be 1 or 2 depending on the day. You know what I mean? But with 3 slot, it could be 444, or it could be American Gangster, and then the last slot would be Reasonable Doubt, just because it's Reasonable Doubt.
You have Reasonable Doubt at 5?
That's not one of the best Hov albums, dog.
Oh God. Okay, all right. We should have not. We should have not got back on here. I changed my mind.
Fuck that. Okay, so where would you put Reasonable Doubt in Hov's discography?
At worst case scenario is number 2 for me.
What?
Worst case scenario. I love it. There's no this. You get to like.
Wait. If it's number 2, then what's number 1?
Maybe Blueprint 2. Maybe
Blueprint 2. Okay, if it was 1 disc. If Blueprint 2 was 1 disc. If it was one,
it's a cheater pick. I know, but I gotta do it. If you get 1995, 96 Tupac, when every album was fucking 4 albums long, I can take Blueprint 2. Yeah, I just really love Reasonable Doubt. It's one of the albums that you put it on, and he was just making music for himself, is what it felt like. It didn't feel like when you got to Blueprint 3. And he was like, "Oh, this is like the one that you're gonna play on."
He was trying to make records, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With that one, like the song 22 Twos, when else could he have made that song? At what point in his life could he have made that particular song? It's just so confident. It's so unbelievably confident to structure a song like that. That pulls me toward it.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I don't know, but at the same time, too, like, it's cool, man. It's cool, but you know, a lot of people don't like to admit, man, like you weren't really listening to Jay-Z in '96, dog. Like,
oh, you weren't. I wasn't. I definitely wasn't.
I wasn't. In '96, I was listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, Too Short, Hit album,
great.
And and fucking All Eyes on Me. Like that's what I was playing in 1996.
Dude,
You know?
I was so excited when I started teaching. I taught at Stevenson Middle School in South Houston. I started 2007 or something like that. I was so excited to find out that Mexicans were still listening to Bone ThugsNHarmony. Like the young ones, the kids in my class are like, Mr. Serrano, have you ever heard a song called The Crossroads? And I was like, you're fucking right. I've heard a song called The Crossroads.
You never asked. Dog. Yeah, Bone Thugs. And here's my other hot take with Bone Thugs. Bone Thugs is the greatest rap group. And when I say rap group, I'm not talking about duos. I'm not talking about duos. Outkast doesn't count. UGK doesn't count. Those are duos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about rap groups. And I confidently say, as a whole, I'm not talking about solo careers. Bone Thugs over WuTang Clan.
Jesus Christ. You're trying to get killed on the internet.
It is what it is, dog.
That's absurd.
That's what it is.
I love Bone Thugs.
What WuTang album is better than East 99 Eternal?
The 36 Chambers.
Better?
Better.
No, hell no.
Better. Now, I will listen to the Bone Thugs album. I've probably heard it more times than 36 Chambers.
Because it's more jamming.
But I would have to vote like that's a better album. But I think that's the competition is probably closer than most people are willing to admit. It's closer than I'm willing to admit, for sure. But
as a group, bro. Okay.
Give me the
9 best verses from New. I want WuTang. Give me your best U-God verse. I want your best fucking Master Killer. I want all these off-brand WuTang members, and no disrespect. You know what I mean? But
you can't say off-brand and then no disrespect. Like, that's disrespect.
Listen, no disrespect. No disrespect, dog. No disrespect. Okay. But I mean, the WuTang Clan, dog. Like RZA had the beats, but it was really Meth, RZA, and Raekwon, and you know what I mean. Spectre Deck, you know what I mean, came with some shit too. But that was really who you wanted to hear in there.
You're putting them above NWA. You're putting them above Tribe Called Quest. You're putting them up. I think there's like Ghetto Boys. Like, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
But that's just for me because, you know, when that came out, like Bone Thugs came out when I was getting into middle school. You know, like when you get into like 6th, 7th grade, that's when you
it touches your heart.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
You put on Thuggish Ruggish Bone, and you're transported back to like a very specific moment in your life. I understand that argument. If you're gonna make that argument for it, I get that. I remember when they were probably like,
you didn't want to hear Ghost. No, I love Ghostface. Yeah, I love Ghostface. Like as far as the WuTang Clan people are commenting, the WuTang Clan. I'm not knocking the WuTang Clan. I fuck with the WuTang Clan.
They should be. I hope everybody in the comment lights your ass up.
I fuck with WuTang Clan, but more than the WuTang Clan, I'm more into like Ray solo stuff, Ghost solo stuff. You know what I mean? Like more of that. As a whole, though, I would say out of 9 guys, I mean, I don't want to hear all 9 guys all the time, but you put Bone on the record, like all 4 or 5 of them, they all are shining in different times. Get first of the month, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Different, you know.
Dude, that's crazy. All right.
I know people gonna kill me for that, but that's fine. I don't really have a lot of hot takes. But that's my one hot take.
That's your one hot take.
I was high on that hill. Bone ThugsNHarmony over WuTang.
You saved the hot take, that's for sure. Oh shit. Hey, do you remember there was a song that Propane did where it was from the Ride and Slab album, and there's like in the video there are like 4 different versions of Propane. He's like popping up all over the place.
I produced that song. You're talking about with Slab. That was
with the horns in it. With the horns in it.
The Dangerous Minds. What was the name of that song? Smiling Faces.
There it is. Was that you? Was that you? You did that one?
Yeah, I did that one.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so. That's a fucking great song, by the way.
Appreciate it.
I just want to throw that out there. Like that's a shower song when you just put it on and turn it up real loud when you're in the shower, and he just fucking gets going. I think Propane has never gotten the accommodation. No, not accommodations. He's never gotten the credit that he has deserved as far as like a songwriter.
I think it's a few. I think it's a few like. And maybe it's just because I'm a part of it, but I feel like our whole movement, a lot of people never really got the credit, whether it be Propane, D-Lo, Dope Easy, Dante Higgins, you know what I mean? Or Les, or who, like a lot of people that came out of that 2010, 2011, you know, it never really, I don't think everybody really got the just due, man.
every person that you just mentioned right now, I could probably tell you one line that they had or one song that they had that really made me go like, this person has a lot of talent in their bones. Like with D-Lo, this was on his like Hood Politics tape. I think it was volume 2. He has a song called Ghetto Boy. And the line is something like, I'm just a ghetto boy, looking for the raid in the back of the kitchen drawer.
Yeah.
And like that sort of writing, I think he's like an incredible writer. That sort of thing is just so like poignant and specific, and you know exactly what he's
Very
talking about. Or
you can see it. Yeah.
Exactly. Dante Higgins has the song where he talks about his mongoose, the bicycle.
Right.
You remember that song? Doe Beasley has like he was just like bar for bar the guy you wanted to hear going. I remember when him and Dante did the remix of Ham.
Yeah.
Jay-Z and Kanye West, and they were just fucking going.
Yeah.
And he had that one, and also he had the line when they did I think it was Bees in the Trap, when he was on there with Slim Thug, and he had a line about he has like a yellow bee, like she's a Simpsons character or something like that. Right. And I remember hearing it just like bust out laughing or whatever. Propane did the song. Whenever he writes about his dad is when it's like, oh fuck, like that.
Yeah, we did the Father's Day record. I produced that one. That was on Riding Slabs. That shit was, yeah.
That one was crazy. That's one where you're like, hey, come here, listen to this, put your phone away, just listen to the stuff that he's saying. And then he's like describing the story of being at the restaurant, and then like
I actually like made that story up, and like just one day came to the studio and was like, hey, imagine your dad's about to die from cancer, but you're too mad to even like, he wants you to meet him, but you're too upset to even hear what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like you're still holding on to the past, and he didn't even get to tell you. The next time you see him is at his deathbed, and you're like standing over him, kind of regretting all these things. And he took that and turned it into what it was, and she came out dope.
Yeah. See, so the thing you're talking about with like Bone Thugs and like being a very specific part of your life, like that's how I feel about all of these guys for me. Like those ones we talked about. Uzi had the one album that came out, and she was just fucking lights out on that thing. I was at a show at Midtown Lounge with Ton P, where she just fucking went berserk. It was like her and Dante Higgins, and she just started going at the end of a song, and everybody after a few minutes realized she was doing something special, and the whole place is just fucking rock. Like we don't know. It's like one of those times where you don't know the song that they're doing because I don't know if she's making it up at the time, or if this was like just a brand new song that they were putting out, but everybody was just like pulled in. I went to a Hood Star Chance show and not Warehouse Live, but like the little room off to the side of it.
Yeah.
And he was up there going, and then like one of the women in the stage got up on in the crowd got up on the stage and started rapping his songs with them, and it was just fucking so much fun. But man, what a great like 4 years of my life that was.
It was a good time, man. It was a really good. Somebody said Father's Day. That's the name of the song. Yeah, Father's Day. Propane. You can find it on all the streaming sites. But yeah, Propane,
it's an incredible song. Incredible. That whole album is like really good though.
Yeah, man. So talk about, because you were doing a really great thing when COVID hit, man, with like just raising the money and all that. Like talk about just kind of getting into that, man. Like that was, every time I saw it come across the timeline, I was like, damn, this is amazing. Shea is like really out here.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, I've been doing this like Twitter thing for a while, and we have raised a ton of money for like various different causes. I think the last time I checked, it was like over $500,000 of just like, if you add up all of the things we did, from like Hurricane Harvey type shit all the way through whatever. But when the coronavirus stuff happened and people were losing their jobs, and like, I don't know, if you grew up a certain way, you know exactly what it feels like to like miss a shift. Like one shift can fuck up your whole month because there's $80 that you're not getting that you were counting on. So when the stuff like that starts happening, and I'm looking at like, oh, it's not that hard for me to like send a tweet and get $5,000 or $10,000 from people that we can just sort of hand out to wherever. Like, you know, why would I not do that if I can do that? So yeah, we started doing a thing where it's like, all right, who has a bill that they can't pay this month? Send it to me. Oh, I've got some money here. We're going to pass out this money. And then it started out, you know, we did it once, we did it twice or whatever. It's always like started out as a small thing, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So through like March 12 through today, it's like, you know, $250,000, $260,000 that we've just given out in cash to people. Like, no questions asked. They like, that's not my job to like do purity tests. If a person says, hey, I can't pay this bill and I've got the money right here, like, here, you take it, and, you know, good luck. I hope you can pay it forward. But yeah, that's just wild, dude. It's always wild to watch it happen, because you think like there's no way that this can continue to happen. And every time it just fucking happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about, because you were saying when you grow up a certain way, like you're very, very careful, and I don't want to say careful, but you make it a point to be like I'm Mexican American, you know what I mean? Like you represent who you are, you know what I mean? Talk about the importance of being in that space, in that, you know what I'm saying, and having that representation, man. Like, because I don't really know, like for me as a black man, I definitely get, you know, being black and representing, but just talk about just, you know, representing for your people, man, like in this space, dog.
Well, I don't think it's anything like special or different. It's probably a similar version of the stuff that you're feeling. Like, you get in a room and you look around and you're like the only not white person in the room or whatever. And there's like a period of your life when that happens and you're like, oh, cool, I made it. It's like all white. I'm with the white people. And then once you get like past that little period, you're like, wait, this is kind of fucked up that this is happening. Like, I remember when the movie book came out last year, they let us know that me and Arturo, the illustrator for the books, that book came out and it made the bestseller list. And at that moment, we had become, in the history of the New York Times bestseller list, the first time ever, some Mexicans had 3 books on there. The list is 88, 89 years old or something like that. And so they tell you, and you're like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, that's a cool legacy to have. And you're like, and then you realize, like, oh, wait, this should have happened, because me and Arturo, we're doing our books on like not super important shit. Like, it's just, we like rap, we like basketball, we like movies, we're writing about stuff that we like. But there have been authors who have been like really out here writing some incredible work. Sandra Cisneros or Luis Urea, or it's like a group of them that we came up behind, and like, how did they not get to do this? You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that happens, and it's always like cool at first, and then you realize it's kind of fucked up that it took this long.
Do you ever experience any like discrimination or like anything like that? Like, you know, like you said, you come in there and you're like the only one kind of in this space. You know what I mean?
It's usually not like so overt, or where you feel like you're being discriminated against. More often, it feels like the person you're talking to just kind of doesn't understand the way that you are going to receive the things that they're saying. They might think they're saying something nice or like cool, but for me or for you, it does not sound.
Yeah.
It's like, more often than not, somebody will be like, if I'm pitching a thing, let's say I'm going to pitch a TV show or a movie or whatever, they'll always want to like steer it back toward, oh, where's the part where we talk about how your characters are Mexican, or like the struggles that Mexicans have to face, or like the racism that Mexicans have to, like, that's not a conversation that you have to have if you pitch a movie where it's white characters. They just get to like do the thing. So I like, that's the stuff that I'm trying to chase down. Like, you watch a TV show like Atlanta, and they did such a good job of just like, here are these three characters just sort of living this life. And there's no like big conversation that has to be had, because that's not typically not a thing that you do. Like, me and my family, when we get together, we don't sit around talking about how hard it is to be Mexican in America. Like, that's not what we talk about, just regular shit. So that's usually the stuff that might happen if something does happen. But that's just what it is. Yeah.
So, okay, last thing. I mean, man, you have 3 New York Times bestsellers. You know what I mean? You know, you're kind of doing what you want to do. Is there anything, you have the short story coming out? Is there anything like, what's on the big goal list for you now at this point?
Oh, my first album comes out, and like, I'm just kidding.
Like, damn, you think you know a person, dog? Like,
no, you know, all that I really want to do with any of this stuff is I just want to make some cool shit with people who have like, whose taste I respect. That's all. That's all that I want to do. So I'm just gonna keep following my feet forward and see where that takes me. Like when, you know, maybe one day you reach out and you're like, hey, you want to do a thing? We can do a thing, and then we figure out what that thing is, and it can be like a little thing or a big thing or whatever. But if somebody has an idea or they're good at something, cool, let's try it. With the short story, for example, because I was doing it in this way where I'm not going to tell anybody what it's about beforehand, and I'm not going to tell anybody the title or anything. What I did decide to do was I went on Twitter and I said, hey, who are like some cool artists? Tag me in their things. And then like a bunch of people tagged me in them. And then I reached out to like several of them, 5 or 6 of them. And I said, hey, I have this short story coming out. I'm not telling anybody what it is, but do you want to do a thing where like you read the short story and then you can draw whatever you want. Draw what, I don't care what it is. If you feel like you want to make a cover for it, go for it. If you feel like you want to do like some fucking graffiti, go for it. Do whatever your heart tells you to do. So we did that. And then like I did the same thing with like a video guy. And I'm like, hey, read this and then like make a video. And then I did it with this guy named Brandon who Jinx on Twitter, who he like makes playlists that I follow and that I really like a lot. And I'm like, hey, read the story and then just make whatever playlist you want. And we'll say it was inspired by the story. Like little shit like that. Just like, let's try a cool thing and do that. That's like my whole goal in any of this stuff is I just want to make some cool shit with some people I like, and then hopefully we can all get a little bit of money out of it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I said last thing, but this is the last thing for real.
Okay. This is great. This is a great deal of fun. I was really excited to talk to you because I never get to talk to anybody about Houston rap stuff. And I was like, fucking Donnie Houston will talk to me about it. I know he's plugged in. For sure,
man. I appreciate you even agreeing to do it, dog. Man, this is super dope. What's up with the J. Cole shit, though, man?
That's funny. So here's what's interesting about that. So this is in reference to like jokes I have made about J. Cole or not liking his music or not enjoying his music. This has not happened at this point for years, I think. Like I have made it a point to just not say anything about anything anymore because people were getting really upset. And I didn't want to be like that guy. Here's how all that started though. J. Cole came out and everybody was like, this is the new Nas. This guy is it. Like he's the new thing. And I listened to it and I was like, well, this is not for me. So you put an album on and like a thing happens in your chest and you love it or you don't. And for me, it was like, if I put on a Kendrick album, oh, this is like, I feel it. I feel what's happening here. I put on J. Cole more times than not. I didn't get that feeling. That was all I was saying.
Okay, so is this because I mean sometimes when people hype things up to you that blows it. You know what I mean? Was it the comparisons that and you went in there expecting so much and you didn't get that, or is it you just don't fuck with the shit?
No, and I think it's not even a thing of like you don't fuck with this shit. It's like a super harsh thing. Like some of this stuff is okay, some of it is not.
Like Born Center was dope. I mean, he's had some dope albums. You know what I mean?
He has had a couple of great things. Here's an example of like for me the J. Cole experience. Who again, I have like a buddy of mine has like done some of his concert stuff, like scheduled tours. He's apparently the nicest guy in the world. I have read like multiple stories of him doing these like incredible acts of generosity towards people. He seems like the best guy. The no name stuff notwithstanding, like that was like a weird moment for him. It felt like. But he had a concert in Houston one time at in the suburbs in the Woodlands. I think it was like the Woodlands Pavilions or something like that. And I went to that, and it was like one of the best concerts I'd ever been to. It was great. You're surrounded by like 5,000 people just going nuts for this guy. He was there with Big Sean. I'll never forget. And the kids are going crazy. Everybody's like really connected, and that was beautiful. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, if an artist can make you feel like that, awesome. You should absolutely celebrate it and do whatever. But for me, it didn't do it. But a good example of the experience is he has the guest verse on the song with 21 Savage a lot. Yeah. The song a lot. And that song came out and I played it because I try to listen to as much stuff as I can. And that song came out and I press play and it goes through and he comes on his verse and he fucking goes nuts on that verse. Like undeniably, you listen to it. When I listened to that verse, I was like, oh,
I get it.
This is what everybody is talking about. This is it. This is what it, okay, I get it. J. Cole, just do this all of the time. Just fucking press the gas all the way to the floor and fucking go. Because when you do that, you're awesome. And then that song came out, and I was really excited because I was like, oh, I get it. And then the next J. Cole song that I heard, swear to God, the next song that I heard that came out, whatever his new song was, like, it was like the opening line or one of the first few lines, and he's like, I'm making a list, checking it twice. And I was like, oh, he's fucking doing Santa Claus raps. He's doing Santa Claus raps. He went from this beautiful, beautiful song in this moment to this thing over here. And that was like a bit of a whiplash. But I understand. If you listen to it and you love it, I get it, because I had that moment with that one song. But that's not like an artist I'm gonna search up in iTunes and like listen to the new stuff. There's a long list of those people, but for some reason, if you say J. Cole is on my list of people, like, I'm just not excited about it most times, people get really mad and they remember it for years down in Houston. Years. I hope that this happens to you with your egregious Wu-Tang Bone Thugs.
Hey, man, I'll down that hill, man.
I hope in 10 years when we redo this, people are in the comments saying it.
You remember when you said that shit? I'm gonna say
yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if you like the thing, celebrate it. Awesome, celebrate it. You love it. Let that person know that they made a thing that you love. And if you don't, then just don't.
Yeah. Well, that's what's up, man. Well, I'm not gonna hold you. It's almost 4:30. I know you gotta get out of here, but this has been dope, man. I appreciate you joining me for the conversation, man. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. We should do this again. We should.
Definitely. I have some stuff I'm gonna hit you up about too. My ideas and shit I've been sitting on. So.
I'm here, Donnie Houston. Let's go make a thing.
My man. All right, Shea Serrano. Thanks, bro.
All right, buddy.
All right, man.